Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The county is continuing to monitor the hepatitis A spike among the unhoused population. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado went to downtown San Diego and spoke with a homeless advocate and several unhoused people to discuss the issue.
On any given day, you'll find Tyrone Bivens walking the streets of downtown San Diego. He said he had no idea there was a spike of hepatitis A among the homeless population until we told him about it. He said he's been homeless since 2017.
It's ridiculous what they're doing to us, Rick. They want us off the street, so they come out and they sweep us off the street, and only to allow us to be somewhere else for 2 or 3 days. And then they come sweep you from there. So that's why people are sitting here catching these diseases, because we're all encamped, closed together.
According to the county's Department of Health and Human Services agency, there's not an outbreak of hepatitis A because they typically see 2 to 3 cases a month. So far, 1 person has died of the disease, and there have been 5 recent confirmed cases, 3 among the homeless population.
So most people out here don't know about it yet.
Michael McConnell has been a homeless advocate for 15 years. He says he was surprised to find out how many people living on the street did not know about the spike.
It's shocking because that's how it spreads. It spreads because our public health officials don't take immediate action to get the word out.
It's wrong for them not to tell the people out here in these streets, okay? Because ain't no other way they can protect themselves unless they know what to do.
But he also says they must get the word out because good hygiene matters. This virus is spread through fecal contamination.
Get sanitary stations out, whether it's hand washing stations, porta potties, get hand sanitizer out to the folks. Most importantly, we need a massive vaccination campaign because that's what really slowed it down last time. But we can't wait. We got to get the county moving on that right away.
He knows all too well what can happen if that doesn't happen. In 2017, an outbreak hit the homeless population. Nearly 600 people were infected and 20 people died.
Somebody's already died. That seems like an emergency to me. But unfortunately, about 600 people died unsheltered last year. We don't need to add to that by more failings of our government not to act. We need to keep restrooms open, obviously. Don't shut down these restrooms on the weekend. That's criminal. And we need to start adding more restrooms, but most of all, we have to start tackling this crisis.
Bivens says until people start seeing those who are experiencing homelessness as human beings, who have hopes and dreams like everyone else, nothing will change. His dream to become an R&B singer.
But it's peace I could not find. Well, I kneel down to pray. Pray, help me, please.
The county has started vaccinations, and the city says they are working with the county to make sure what happened last time does not happen again. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Steps might be taken to address the growing issue of fentanyl use and help those in crisis. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is considering making Narcan an over-the-counter product with no prescription required. Narcan is the brand name for naloxone, a nasal spray that can revive people who suffer an overdose of fentanyl. It can easily be used by people who don't have any medical training and has been credited with saving lives. Approval could come later this year. We cover the fentanyl issue often here at KPBS. Just last week, Midday Edition highlighted the problem of fentanyl being disguised as prescription drugs at some pharmacies in Tijuana. You can stream the KPBS Midday Edition podcast on all major platforms. Crews are tearing down a handful of remaining mobile homes on the Anza Cove Peninsula. As KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson explains, it is the latest step in a 40-year-long battle over public access to the parkland around Mission Bay.
An excavator with a claw cut into one of the last mobile homes still standing at the old Mission Bay Mobile Park. The park was abandoned after a decades-long fight with people who lived there, and the cleanup began in earnest last year.
When we took over the lease back in 2019, there were 169 mobile homes remaining on this property. Now there are only a handful left to be removed.
The process wasn't as easy as just coming in and leveling everything that was standing.
Before we were able to start the removal and demolition processes, we had to actually conduct asbestos and lead abatement of all the homes.
And while the teardown process is almost over, the future of the northern portion of Mission Bay is still unsettled. Environmentalists want to greatly expand the wetlands at the mouth of Rose Creek and around the Anza Cove Peninsula. Campland officials want long-term security for their business, and the two sides don't always agree.
Ultimately, that vision will be determined by the public and many public hearings, but what I'm recommending is a balance of uses that would include options like low-cost camping coupled with some restoration and expansion of our existing wetlands that I think are very important for our climate action plan.
There is still a lot of debris on the site from mobile homes that have been torn down, but officials say that by summer, the bike paths around this peninsula could be open to the public. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego took a step towards building denser housing this week. The City Council narrowly passed a wide range of updates to the city's new building approval process. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says not everyone is happy with the changes.
The San Diego City Council voted 5-4 to loosen rules allowing taller apartment buildings and more backyard units for properties near current or future mass transit. This construction can now happen when the transit line is as far as 1 mile away on a walkable path. Previously, it was a half mile as the crow flies. Circulate San Diego's Colin Parent says the change will help San Diego meet its affordable housing and climate goals to get 15% of people living near transit to actually use it.
The biggest thing that this is going to accomplish is it's going to expand the universe of land near transit that's going to be able to take advantage of some of these innovative housing programs from the city of San Diego.
Those programs encourage more dense housing near transit and incentivize homeowners to build so-called granny flats in their backyards. But Neighbors for a Better San Diego chair Jeff Huter is frustrated with the update. His organization advocates for single-family homeowners.
The goal is that we should be pushing development into some sort of critical mass of transit corridor development instead of just smearing all new development across what we calculate is over half of all the area of San Diego.
Huter says most people won't walk a mile to transit, but City Council President Sean Elo Rivera disagrees. He voted in favor of the policy change.
I understand some of those concerns and believe that those can be accounted for through additional planning and investment in the micromobility and first and last mile options that our office has advocated for before and is going to continue to advocate for.
Circulate San Diego's Colin Parent says this update alone won't spur a lot of new development, but it will be able to work in conjunction with San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria's upcoming housing action package. That's expected to be formally brought forward in the coming weeks. Jacob Ayers, KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, criticism over lax construction standards grows in Turkey a week after the earthquake hit. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The The San Diego Symphony is the oldest symphony in California. In 2010, it was named a Tier 1 orchestra by the League of American Orchestras. Now, as KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us, its historic home will soon become what you might call a Tier 1 venue.
The historic Fox Theater was transformed into the home of the San Diego Symphony in the mid-'80s. Since then, it has been where the symphony is headquartered. But 2 years ago, the symphony pulled up stakes and moved over here to the Rady Shell at Jacobs Park, the $85 million Rady Shell at Jacobs Park. But come November, the symphony will return to their main home, Copley Symphony Hall. And if you thought $85 million was expensive for the shell, well, the renovations here are being done to the tune of $125 million.
The end result is going to be wonderful, both visually and acoustically.
Travis Weininger is the Vice President of Operations for the Symphony. If you want to know anything about the changes happening inside this magnificent space, he's the guy with the answers about nearly everything, from what kinds of modernization and improvements that you'll see to those you won't.
Bringing the rear wall of the hall in by about 8 rows of seats. We had a really deep balcony overhang before, and acoustically those seats all the way in the back of that balcony level, under balcony level, weren't that great.
Each row of seats that remains under the balcony will be stepped up as you go back to improve lines of sight. Another change improves aesthetics and sound.
Removing a valance, a wall that used to cut off the top of the proscenium. And we were able to do some structural moves to remove that and to open the proscenium up to the full height of this arch that you see behind us. So that's going to give a lot more acoustic breathing room. We decided to build a permanent orchestra shell that will surround the stage. And that allows us now, around the stage, to have a choral terrace level.
As its name suggests, the choral terrace will allow large choirs to sing with the orchestra, and when no chorus is involved, it will be opened up to audience seating. 20 acoustic tuning pieces will be installed above the orchestra, allowing for custom acoustic tuning for different performances. Of course, all the ornate plaster work is being refreshed and cleaned. And then there are those changes you won't see, but that will make a big difference, like the building's heating and air conditioning systems.
We've suspended all of those units from the parking structure above us so that none of the vibration or the noise from those units will transfer into the space.
A renovated symphony hall and a spectacular outdoor venue with the Rady Shell. You'd think that would make the San Diego Symphony a very attractive orchestra for the world's top musicians. It's a question we put to Director of Artistic Planning, A.J. Benson, in a much quieter meeting room at Symphony Hall.
I think San Diego has a number of elements that are attractive to musicians. The fact that we are performing in 2 different venues. We have great soloists and collaborators that we work with. The executive leadership has really been a huge force propelling the orchestra forward.
And Benson points out the Jacobs gift, $120 million given in 2002. That, he says, has resulted in a financially sound organization, especially when combined with other large gifts and significant support from the community in general. Now, Benson, along with symphony leadership, look to the future.
We want to have people feel like it's comfortable, it's safe, it's welcoming, it's warm in this new acoustic, in this environment. So, I think there's a real element of, top shelf, incredible music making, great artistry happening right at everyone's doorstep. You don't have to go to LA, you don't have to go to New York City. There's a lot happening right here.
And soon, happening in a concert hall that will take its place among the finest in the world. John Carroll, KPBS News.
That story by John Carroll is an example of our in-depth feature reporting. You can stream all of our recent stories on the KPBS YouTube page. It's also where we live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5. Prop 8 is no longer enforced in California, and there is a plan to keep it that way. California voters passed the ballot measure that limited marriage to straight couples in 2008. Court decisions eventually struck it down. Now, a proposed constitutional amendment could go to voters next year. Both state houses would also have to pass it with a 2/3 majority. A Golden Globe-winning actress with deep ties to San Diego has passed away. Raquel Welch was 82. Her manager says she died from a brief illness in LA. Welch was born in Chicago but moved to San Diego at an early age, attending La Jolla High School and what would become SDSU. One of her first on-screen jobs was weathercaster at Channel 8. Welch later went on to a career that spanned decades as a film, TV, and theater star. The San Diego Center for Jewish Culture is presenting the 33rd San Diego International Jewish Film Festival. It will showcase 35 feature films, both in person and online. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has this preview.
The San Diego International Jewish Film Festival has been showcasing the best contemporary Jewish films for 3 decades. The films selected represent the Jewish experience, but in recent years expanded to include more Arab perspectives, as in Cinema Sabea. The film explores the lives of Arab and Jewish women in Israel who gathered to take part in a filmmaking class. Then, surprising alliances are at the heart of Dead Sea Guardians.
It's the Middle East, too much politics. But environment cannot wait for politicians.
A Palestinian, Jordanian, and Israeli joined forces to raise awareness about the Dead Sea drying up. While that film looks to the future, other films look to the past to find new stories to tell about the Holocaust. Deadly Deception at Sobibor follows an archaeologist who views a Nazi extermination camp as a crime scene.
What we are doing there, we are looking for evidence. There is something? Yeah.
Filmmaker Gary Hockman hopes that films like his will aid in teaching about the Holocaust.
I think it's important because I think people forget that a place like Sobibor is the outcome of violent bigotry. And for violent bigotry to exist, you have to have public hatred. And boy, do we have a lot of that in our current lives.
My favorite documentary at the festival is 4 Winters, about Jewish partisan resistance fighters like Faye Schulman.
I managed to escape with my camera into the woods. The pillow was the rifle, the walls were the trees, and the sky was the roof.
Schulman's determination to take photos under harsh conditions is phenomenal. A single image of her in her leopard coat with a rifle sums up the contrast between the life she previously led and the one she was forced to lead. The festival once again proves that there are always new stories to tell and new ways to see the world. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Here's a look at today's weather headlines. Well, it looks like another chilly night is ahead of us, so we'll see more frost and freezing temperatures. So please make sure you take care of your sensitive vegetation and make sure the pets are okay too. Make sure they have a nice warm spot. Looking ahead, a little bit breezy at times through Friday, just a weak Santa Ana. And we'll have dry weather through the end of the week with some sunshine. Over the weekend, there's going to be an upper low that tries to get closer. Not expecting any real impacts from that. But tonight, the big concern's a cold air, and we have frost advisories and also some freeze warnings. So that's why we need to take care of our pets and make sure the plants are okay too. Make sure they have a nice protection from the cold. For tonight, it's chilly. Bundle up. Temperatures dropping into the upper 30s in the metro. Forecast temperature tonight down to 31 in Oceanside, below freezing in Escondido and Ramona. El Cajon pretty chilly too at 33, and head up to Mount Laguna. Ooh, we're down in the teens, so pretty cold night ahead of us. And with all the dry conditions, well, we don't see anything happening here in our future cast. It looks pretty quiet here tonight into tomorrow. And as we take a look at tomorrow's forecast, abundance of sunshine. Temperatures will creep up a little bit, so it should feel a little bit more pleasant in the afternoon with a light breeze. Temperatures in the mid-60s Oceanside through San Diego to El Cajon. Ramona will stay in the upper 50s, so a sweatshirt or light jacket certainly will come in handy. Friday, there's the upper low drifting south. It looks like it'll kind of mill about well offshore into the weekend. So as we look at our weekend weather, only minimal impacts in the upper low. Temperatures in the mid-60s, some clouds. Could there be a shower later Saturday and Sunday? Can't rule it out entirely. And here in the inland sections, temperatures a little bit milder each afternoon, and over the weekend, partly sunny. And then as we head our way into the mountains, it's chilly. Temperatures will stay in the 30s right through early next week. And as we head our way to the deserts, cool weather will gradually give way to some milder conditions. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
California's Attorney General wants to get rid of what he calls junk fees for all kinds of products and services that nickel and dime customers. You see them often tacked onto hotel rooms and concert tickets, often called service charges that are in addition to required taxes. Attorney General Rob Bonta says the fees not only make things more expensive, but hurt companies that try to be transparent about pricing. The first step will be a committee vote next month. What does it mean to earn a living wage in California? KPBS reporter Melissa May spoke with a San Diego lawmaker who proposed a state bill to help answer that question.
What my bill does for the first time is say, we need to, as a state agency, working with the Secretary of Labor, working with the Workforce Development Board, gather that data and show what a real living housing wage looks like in California.
According to Senator Steve Padilla, California has never established how to best calculate what a living wage looks like.
We've never developed a standard, we've never developed a methodology, and we've never linked it to housing costs and really captured what a housing wage looks like.
Senator Padilla says a data-driven analysis can help those who are economically stranded in the entry-level portion of the workforce. And raising the minimum wage every year isn't enough, because it isn't enough.
Overall, people in the entry portion of our workforce, our total workforce in California, simply aren't able to keep up with the inflationary costs of living.
There's a lot of jobs that people will judge and say, well, oh, they don't deserve that because it's not skilled or it is skilled. This is going to take that subjectivity away from things and create a base level where we could say, hey, a worker's a worker. Whether they're serving us food in a restaurant or putting groceries on shelves, or processing our food.
Todd Walters is the president of the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 135. They represent more than 13,000 individuals who work in a variety of industries.
It gives us something tangible to reach out to see this is what it is. Too often you go into negotiations with some of these large employers, especially the ones that are making tons of money, and they'll throw 50 cents or 20 cents out there. But that's not good. That's not putting food on the table.
Senator Padilla has this message for those who are working but are also struggling to survive in California.
You matter. You shouldn't be invisible. Your work is valuable because you contribute to the California economy. And I want to make sure that you're not forgotten. You're not left behind in the conversations that we're having. There shouldn't be an invisible workforce in California.
The bill will be presented to committees in March. Melissa May, KPBS News.
A four-year degree will soon be in closer reach for students in some of our smaller school districts. Cal State San Marcos is expanding guaranteed admission to 5 districts. Those include Bonsall Unified, Guajome Schools, Hemet Unified, Poway Unified, and San Dieguito Union High School District. Students will still need to meet certain grades and other criteria. Nearly a dozen school districts in the San Diego area are also part of the program. The University of San Diego is about to appoint a group of researchers to a new lab that will focus on inequality and power. KPBS education reporter MJ Perez says they come from military and social justice advocacy backgrounds, plus someone with personal experience in the criminal justice system.
With the images of Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, and Gandhi looking on, some very important people made a very important announcement here on the campus of the University of San Diego this morning.
We celebrate those things that make peace possible, and we shine a light on those things that prevent the progress of peace.
U.S. Representative Sarah Jacobs, Democrat from San Diego's 51st District, came to campus to announce $580,000 in federal funding that will be spent to hire research fellows for the new Violence, Inequality, and Power Lab, also known as the VIP Lab at the Joan Kroc School of Peace Studies.
It's a little bit of play on the term, right? Because usually VIP is very important person, or it's sort of the elite. What we are doing is trying to flip a little bit or play with the terminology of VIP to get to these issues of inequality and power and how they affect violence.
Violence like the invasion of Ukraine by Russia or the mass shootings on school campuses that keep happening. The money will be used to find and hire researchers around the world. There are also a couple of spots for USD fellows to work here on campus.
Addressing inequality isn't just about addressing it right now, but actually how it factors into the broader issues we're having in society.
The University of San Diego has a long-standing history of creating programs that support marginalized communities and social justice. But the world is a very different place now, and the academic approach is different too. That's where the USD VIP Lab will innovate solutions for world problems and local issues. But remember, VIP stands for violence, inequality, and power. Along with the federal grant money announcement, Representative Jacobs also had something to say about the retirement of California Senator Dianne Feinstein, a VIP with a legacy of fighting social injustice.
And making sure that the United States is actually living up to the values that we espouse. I'm looking forward to a spirited race to replace her. Breaking news, I'm not running for Senate.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.